Hello, everybody. Dominic Fragman here, doing the Wicked Chops Live thing, getting set up for you. Here we go. And as you are tuning in, please do let us know where you are watching from. And I'm going to make sure that I am all right side up and everything before we get going here. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you watching. I am working very hard to get back to weekly Wicked Chops Live, which is what we do here on Drum Talk TV, kind of weekly. I'm getting back to it. So, let me just make sure I can see everything here, and we'll be good to go. Looks like we are in. So, I am Dominic Fragman, and you are watching Wicked Chops Live on Drum Talk TV. And we are going to talk about building technique and playing on my favorite practice tool of all time, the Wicked Chops practice pad by a head. But first, I want to play some drums. So as you guys are coming in and getting situated, think about if you have any questions you'd like to talk about, or like me to talk about, or things you'd like to ask, whether or not it has to do with left hand development or things like that. Those are often questions, but yeah, we'll get into it. But first, let's play some drums. Oh, let's see. Let me turn this down. All right. I'm Dominic Fragman, and this is Wicked Chops Live on Drum Talk TV. All right. Turn this back up. All right. Good to see everyone. So, see if we have any questions or anything like that. How's it going? I see a lot of notifications here. See a new format that I don't recognize in the lives. I guess it's been a couple weeks since I've gone. Facebook has a tendency to change things. Hello, Clayton Lee Asher. Thanks for being here. thank you everybody for being in here. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing any comments or anything like that. So, yeah. My name is Dominic Fragman, and I am here to talk to you about my most favorite practice tool that I've ever found, and it is the Wicked Chops practice pad right here. And right off the bat, you can notice what is special about the Wicked Chops practice pad, and that it is quite small. It is about 1.5 inches of playing real estate that you get to execute your fastest and finest and cleanest, slowest, all of it, right here on the Wicked Chops practice pad. And as I said, it's 1.5 inches of playing real estate, and most practice pads that are available on the market are somewhere in the neighborhood between about 6 to 8 inches or on up to about 14, which is way closer to the size of an actual drum. And so right off the bat, you're dealing with something that's much different than those products that are available. And I think the benefits are tremendous between switching. I actually, when I started playing on the Wicked Chops practice pad, I thought I would never be able to get off of a larger practice pad, like my Real Feel or something like that, but I never use anything bigger than this anymore. And part of the reason for that is because with the small size, it requires you to focus. So you have to pay more attention to what you're doing because it's small, so you get in focusing more on what you're doing, and therefore you get more out of your practice time. More focused practice times means you're going to get more benefits out of your practice time. So, hey, thank you, Lucas. Appreciate it. Yeah, so the way that bouncy Buddy Rich thing, I've listened to a lot of tap dancers, and I think that playing like a tap dancer is a little bit of a way for us drummers to be able to deal with the time in a more flowing way, especially when we're sitting on a pad just sort of going through stickings, okay? We have a tendency to get caught up in the stickings themselves, like, oh, now I'm doing singles, and now I'm doing doubles, and here's a paradiddle, and here's flam accents, and some cheeses, double throat rolls. You know, we get caught up in that we're moving through these stickings, but when you do that, what Lucas just called that bouncy Buddy Rich thing, it gives you, it's not just the bouncy Buddy Rich thing, but this idea of playing like a tap dancer. It sort of breaks you outside of those patterns and requires you to make the music regardless of what the sticking is. So, sorry, I'm just making sure. I see a lot of activity. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any questions or anything like that. So please feel free to ask questions or offer some perspective. Are you using the Wicked Chops practice pad? How's it going? If you haven't, there's a link in the comments where you can check it out. And like I was saying earlier, one of the great things about the Wicked Chops practice pad is that it is so small that it requires you to focus on what you're doing. And as a result of that, you're going to have more focused practice time, and you're going to get more out of your practice. So you're going to be dealing with all the similar things that you would on a sort of regular sized practice pad. You're going to deal with your speed, you're going to deal with power, you're going to deal with dexterity, you're going to deal with equality of sound and stick heights and all these things. But when you do them on the Wicked Chops practice pad, you're going to be zeroed in, and you're going to expedite the progress that you're making because you're so much more focused. You're not going to be able to sit here and have a conversation on the phone or with people in person or watch TV and burn through some rudiments and that sort of thing. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen, what happened for me was I had to go back to each stroke. Each stroke, one slow, and figure out how that sort of worked for what I was trying to achieve and what my motion was. most efficient and relaxed for my body. That's the biggest goal. You develop that relaxation. So if I can tune into what I'm doing, and I realize, hey, I'm carrying tension in my neck or my wrists or my thighs, and I start to release that tension. And when you release tension physically, you release tension mentally, and you get a better clarity and flow and musicality, and the band feels better. The playing is more confident. It's a good thing. So I'll check out the pad. I use a basic practice pad. This is from Clayton, but I also use a Gatorade bottle cap too. Very good. I think that it's worth checking out, especially if you're putting in time practicing like that, where you're playing on Gatorade bottles and stuff like that. This pad is 1.5 inches, so it's a regular gum rubber surface, like a regular real feel or something like that. So feels just like that. And one thing that I also think is really awesome about the pad is that in that process of focus and relaxation and developing your technique, that speed, that power, that all those things, you start to get a better ability to express your musical ideas. And for me, I'm really focused on trying to do that in sort of a different kind of approach to playing the drums. And I'm very fortunate because I have a unique situation in the Spirit of Innovation and Freedom, which is a group that I play music with and also do a podcast with about, we've been recognized as developing a new sound in music. So tune in on my YouTube channel and Facebook channel. I'm Dominic Fragman, and you can see some of that, which is where we kind of explore different types of playing. So I get professional opportunities to perform and present this kinds of different ideas. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about instead of talking about it here. So, but this mode of playing requires a lot of technique, and the pad has helped me achieve that level. So let's check it out. Yeah. All right. Cool. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Let's see. All right, Clayton, I see what you're asking here. It says, do you typically have it on a cymbal stand, or will it stay still enough on a flat surface? I keep mine, it will not stay still enough yet on a flat surface, but I have found some things like micro suction tape, which is a non-adhesive adhesive that I stuck on the bottom of it and put on a tabletop, which makes it so it doesn't stick, but it doesn't slide. So there's things like that I found that work, but for the most part, it has to be mounted on a cymbal stand. Or something that's an 8mm thread. Camera tripod. Even smaller little flexi tripods and stuff like that they make have an 8mm thread sometimes. So, let's see. This entire program. Thank you, Clayton. I appreciate it. Yeah, if anybody else has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Or Clayton, if you have any more questions, I'm certainly happy to answer. But yeah, so the pad plus, some of the sort of things. I also have a book available that I wrote with the inventor of the pad. His name is Paul F. Murphy. We have a book called The Continuum Method that sort of deals with a way to develop your drumming technique and also sort of discover a method that helps facilitate you exploring your own ideas as opposed to just playing through rudiments and paradiddles and all that. And usually people will ask about rudiments, and yes, you can execute any and all manner of rudiments on here. Here's some Radimicues or 4-stroke roughs. Here's paradiddles, double paradiddles, triple paradiddles, paradiddles, doubles, singles, 5-stroke roll, seven-stroke roll. All of those will work. Flams, flam parrot or flamadiddle, flam taps. Here's alternating flams. So yes, flams do work. Buzz stroke rolls work. So you can get into all of it. Let me make sure I'm missing anything. Cool. So yeah, all that stuff will work on the practice pad, but also the things that I have found the most interesting about it is it kind of expands. So when you get in the zone, like this, think about when you're in the zone, when you're really focused. Your stuff is kind of like in the flow and it's refined. And when you become aware that you're in the flow, whether through your own consciousness or through somebody a distraction external, you get knocked out of that zone and that flow and that refined state of expression or whatever you want to call it. And with the Wicked Chops practice pad, what I found that's interesting is that I have had the ability to expand my being in the zone and simultaneously being critical and analytical. So being aware that I'm in the zone and using it to better examine and assess and refine my technique and my relaxation and these sorts of things, which has led to exploring different ideas that aren't just based in traditional conventional patterns and drum canon. So for me, I have been very fortunate to study with and play with some master level musicians like Cecil Taylor and Larry Willis and Paul Murphy, and that's the goal, is to explore your own unique sound, and I think the Wicked Chops practice pad really helps with that. So part of the reason for that has to do with the idea that perhaps technique is the mother of invention. The actual ability to execute invents the idea, if you consider that having the idea itself is not necessarily the invention, but that could be argued too. you know, I talk about a lot of this kind of stuff on a podcast and a YouTube on-screen that I have called Progress Culture. And that's through my organization, the Spirit of Innovation and Freedom. We release episodes of the podcast every Wednesday. I release on-screen on my YouTube channel on Thursdays, and I also put out other music. I put out about 4 videos a week. So if you guys are digging everything, check out me on my Facebook channel, my artist page, Dominic Fragman, and my YouTube channel, Dominic Fragman, the Spirit of Innovation and Freedom. So if nobody has any questions, I'll start to wrap it up here. But I'd be happy to take any questions. And I say this every time, but I am fitting to get back into this weekly. And maybe it'll be on Monday evenings or something like that. We haven't nailed down a time, but I'm going to be here more often. I used to be. Very often, but yes. And also, please, you can always get in touch with me if you have questions or about the pad or about anything like that. Dominic Fragman on my artist page. So it certainly does demand consistency. And Clayton, one interesting thing about that is, think about that. When you are able to execute in a relaxed way to your potential and play everything that you can play right here, you're not going to stay in this position when you get on a bigger drum. You're going to be able to better access the different sounds that the range of that drum, circumference of that drum makes. So you'll be more precise and consistent in that regard too, and it will give you a better balance of sound overall at the drum set. You are able to extrapolate the different tones of the cymbals and the different tones of the toms and the snare. You'll be able to utilize them more precisely, but not necessarily like being all precision about it. Just the idea that in the heat of the moment of playing, you've gone there, you've done that. Now you're getting it on demand. So that's exciting. How do you approach patterns, rudiments, and timekeeping? So with rudiments, when I think about rudiments, I have gone through the canon of, playing the ritual and doing the 26 and everything else. But now when I think about, when I think about rudiments, I think more about my own personal rudiments. I try to explore my ideas and see hey, in order for me to be able to play this thing I'm trying to play, I break it down into small parts. So if that means that I have to do something with inverted, so here's an inverted double stroke roll, I wouldn't necessarily be concerned about it being a double stroke, like an inverted double stroke roll, as much as it's in a facilitator of all the different kinds of strokes that I have to play. So you have this stroke, right? And then you have a single stroke that can be actually down or up, but not up necessarily as a tap, up on the upside of the beat or the back side of the beat, etc. But then when you start to think about the next step you have is to play 2 notes. And how are you going to play those? There's a difference between this and this, which is the kind of process that you go through. So now do I need to be better at this kind of stroke? Who cares what it's called? I will go through things like that in a lot more intricate ways within a continuum of repetitive time, but then also in a rubato type of feel. And also exploring things from the front side and the back side, and on the beat and off the beat, swung and not swung, in 3 and in duple feel and ternary feel. So yeah, and I think of timekeeping in terms of, I think of time as time works on a spectrum, and the approach to time that it's only repetitive pulsation that fits up in lines on a grid. Actual time does not work like that. Man-made time works like that. Our understanding and measuring of it does, but time itself flows completely through solid like a spectrum. So you can float around within it. It's not always. So I try to deal with things like that and explore things. I work on a 2-inch rubber pad for 2 hours every morning. Very great, Jim. Have you checked out the Wicked Chops practice pad? How about this? I will await any more questions. I'll take a drum solo, I'll come back, and if there's any more questions, I'll answer them, and if there's none, I will wrap it up, and I'll see you guys next week. But Clayton, perhaps this will also kind of demonstrate, well, it will demonstrate some of the things that I'm talking about in terms of time, not being so, and I'll try to vary it enough so that it goes from sort of a tight type of time to a more encompassing, expansive type of time. Ow. Oh, let me turn this mic down so I don't blow you out here. So here, start like this, with sort of like a funk type thing. Right. Hopefully that'll give you a little bit of a better idea. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Thank you, Clayton. I appreciate that. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense of, I think it was Frank Zappa who was said that talking about music is like dancing about architecture. And I agree. So I'm glad that was a demonstration. Sometimes I feel like the things that I speak, when I speak about it, are so off the mark. So thank you. I appreciate you watching. I do, Clayton. You can get in touch with me. Ping my artist page, Dominic Fragman. Send me a message there. You can find me. Clayton is asking if I do online lessons privately. Yes, I do. Skype lessons or whatever works for you. yeah, just reach out and get in touch. Or you can find me at www.dominicfragman.com or www.progressculture.org or spiritinnovationfreedom.com. I'm all over. So, yes, please feel free to get in touch, Clayton. Now, I think that is all the questions that I see, so I would love to see you all back here again next week. Hopefully I'll be around, but I plan on it. I used to do this every week for the past couple of years, and this year has been quite a crazy year, so it's been a little unconventional. But, yes, so thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for your questions. I look forward to speaking with you further next time we are here on Wicked Chops live on Drum Talk TV. I am Dominic Fragman, and it's a pleasure. I'll see you next time. All right, take care. See ya. Bye-bye now.